I'm Wesley Hunt.
I'm Wrendon Hunt.
And you're in the hunt.
Had a very, very good morning this morning, Wesley.
Good.
Like a fantastic morning. So as you know, I get up early and run. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I get up early, sometimes I don't, but I run every single day because it's important to me to do that. And this particular morning, I got up to run, and because the new Drake album dropped this morning, I extended my running route a little bit. You know, because I wanted to be able to run for a little while longer so I could listen
You listen to Donda.
Donda. So
I mean, this is a good week in hip hop. It's okay because we get Drake, we get Drizzy, and you get Yeezy. This is going to be in one. And by the way, these are real artists that do real full albums still.
Yeah.
Right, and they're rapping, and you can understand what they're saying.
All this and a rap album?
Yeah, right. Like, I'm really, yeah. So I listened to Donda in the gym the other day.
Oh, did you?
Loved it.
Yeah, it's a great album.
And then I'm going to go to the gym after this, and yeah.
Wait, you go to the gym?
Come on, man.
All right, I'm just asking.
Come on,
you look
man.
A little swole there.
Come on, man.
What size you got there?
It's the blazer.
40 what?
40.
Remember that?
We'll tell that story later.
Yeah. You got to tell that story.
40.
That's a good one. We actually might have to tell that right after this.
But go ahead. Sorry. Continue.
So, interestingly enough, you know, with these albums coming out and stuff like that, I need more time to run. Now, here's the interesting piece, too. I'm glad I didn't think about running when I listened to Donda for the first time, because I would have had to run a half marathon.
Yeah, it's a pretty long one.
Like, both of these albums are really, really long.
But I'm glad, right? I've got so sick of, I missed that.
They're not cheating, though.
Like the double CD album.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. All eyes on me.
Yes.
It's not cheating. Okay.
Yes.
So I go out. I go out to run, and
Blueprint 2, right? That was a double album.
Which one?
Blueprint 2.
Yes, it was. Blessing and the Curse.
Yeah.
It sure was.
A double album.
It sure was.
I missed those days, man.
Yeah. Even Outkast, right?
Yes.
Great album.
Give me some content, man.
Content. So I get out and I'm running, and I get about 3 miles into my run, feeling good. I get about to that track.
3 miles?
Start feeling good.
You start feeling good at 3 miles. My run was over. I was over like 2 miles ago.
I'm feeling good.
I start feeling good at like 300 yards. Like, did you say I start feeling good?
By the way, how American are you? Said I start feeling good at 300 yards.
I don't know. I don't know what meters are.
I don't know what they are.
I don't know what that is. It's like centimeters, meters. I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
I have no idea what that is.
It's Greek to me.
Feet, yards. Okay, that's great.
Now I understand what you're talking about.
Exactly.
That's what you're talking about. So I'm going, feeling good, have a lather going, and there's a guy that I'm running towards, who's running towards me, has his shirt off, and he sees me, and it's like he gets fired up, right? And here's the thing. It's dark. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And you know me. If somebody's fired up and I'm running, I'll pass that energy on to you. So he sees me, and he like flexes, and I'm like, yeah. And I flex too. And I'm like, yeah. And I don't know who this is, but I'm like, good. This guy's fired up. He's getting his fitness on early in the morning.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm listening to Drake.
Yeah. I'm just like, yeah. And I get up on him, and I'm like, oh, that's my boy Matt Hall. So I get up on, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's up, man? How you doing? So I like pound him up, and he's running, and then you could tell that he's just dogging it at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like you can just, and you know, when you run enough, you see it in people's eyes too. When you run in groups and stuff, it's like, man, he's in a bad place.
It's like the last 50 yards of that 2 mile. I'm talking about me.
You know how you know people are dogging it. You know when the arms and legs aren't in sync.
Yeah, it's not coordinated. They look like the
monster walk.
The monster walk.
And I mean, he's just dogging it, right?
Yeah.
And I could see that. And we had been texting back and forth over the last couple of months because he's like, hey, I'm thinking about running a half marathon, blah, 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 blah. And he's been training. And we've been talking about, hey, maybe we should do a race together and stuff, right? It's like, yeah, cool. So I see him dogging it. I'm like, Matt, well, how far are you going? He's like, man, I got to get home. He's like, I actually took a wrong turn, and I had to look up on my phone how to get home and all this kind of stuff. And
by that time,
it was still,
I'd have been walking.
It was still trotting, right? So I was like, so how far out are you? He's like, oh, I'm about two miles out. I was like, awesome. He says, man, it's crazy that I'm seeing you right now. I was like, why? Because like we hadn't connected in a while, and he had just had a 40th birthday party, but I couldn't make it. He said, what I'm actually doing this morning is I set out to run 10 miles. I was like, wow, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, you're getting it. You still look like you have it going. Good. He said, but I decided to run 13 miles today for the 13 fallen.
Oh, wow.
I said, well, I'm going to run the rest of this time with you, my man.
That's awesome.
So I ran with him, and it just so happens, once again, when you lose contact with people, he lives like less than a mile away from my house.
Yeah.
And so we got there, we got to catch up, got to talk about family and stuff like that. But it was just a wonderful start to the morning.
Awesome.
Because this is a path I normally don't go down.
Yeah.
You know, the chances of me running into him right at this point because he took a wrong turn.
He's running 13 miles.
And he's running 13 miles for the fall.
I mean, I'd have been running 1.3 miles for him. Smooth that decimal point over. However, that is awesome that he's doing that.
I thought that was, and it
13 miles for the fallen. That made my day right there.
Yeah.
And
that's
cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. And once again, in our culture, we focus so much on the negative things, and oftentimes, I used to have this pastor in San Diego. His name was Miles McPherson, and he used to tell these anecdotal stories at the beginning of his sermons. And I used to always think like, wow, that's cool that these things are happening to you. And now I see that as we get to talk about these things week in and week out,
it happens all the time.
So many cool things really happen if we take the time to focus on them.
Yeah.
So you got to tell the story about 40. It's a good story.
This is a funny story. So this is when you were in Midland.
Yeah, Midland, Michigan.
In Midland, Michigan.
Yeah.
And I was visiting Esther, I think, for maybe the first time. It was the first time I was visiting Esther when she was born.
I think it was.
So how long ago is that now? That's like
8.
How old is she?
Almost. She's 8. So
she's
7 to 8 years ago.
Yeah, almost 8 years ago. And, I find you to be a pretty fashionable guy. You always have been.
Well, thank you. I feel the same way about you.
We've always tried. I've always tried.
See, we were inverted.
And
even if the execution was bad, the effort's always been there.
That's right. Because we saw a picture of us a few years back where we looked like we had on hammer pants. We had on suits. We had on 2 suits. And we thought we were fly, didn't we?
So fly.
We thought we were the best looking brothers ever. Okay? Ever. And you look back on this picture, and these pants could fit like 4 people in them.
Couldn't even see my shoes.
No. Shoes?
Couldn't even.
I could see the floor.
I could have had on tennis shoes. I could have had on Keds.
You could have clown shoes.
You wouldn't have been able to see them, man.
like these pants, both of us were so big.
Man.
But that was the style.
That was the style then.
That was the style.
The effort was there.
At least we tried.
The execution was bad.
At least we tried. And this is why you always got JFK had it right. Bobby Kennedy, they had it right.
Yeah.
No matter what the trends are going to be,
timeless.
Just always keep in mind, like clothes that like fit and they're slim and they're relatively fitting. That never goes away. Don't ever go to the 96 NBA draft look.
No.
Just stay away from it, right?
No.
Because that's going to come and go.
Yes, it will.
It will last forever.
Yes. Steve McQueen still looks cool.
Yes. It always look cool.
Yeah.
So this is what it took us. We have now gotten there, but there was a time where we went with the trends.
Yes.
And we were just doing a typewriter in these pants and didn't even know it. I mean, straight up hammer time. Can't touch this.
Taking lunch in the pan. You know what I'm saying? She got a whole sandwich in that pan. In the sandwich. Pan. Hamburger, hot dog. She got in the pan.
Sandwich. And so I remember you had this really nice blazer that was in your closet. Now, at this point, I've come down on weight a little bit, but at that point, I was lifting pretty heavy. And this 10 years ago, I was a pretty big guy. Okay? And this was when you lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, right? I was probably at my smallest.
So you were at your smallest, and I might have been at one of the heaviest, not this muscular times of my life. And you had this blazer.
Vascular. You were real vascular.
I was pretty. How much do you benching? Everything. Like, it's stupid. It was whatever. I don't know what I was doing. Stupid. Why are you that big? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Get ready for the combine.
There is no combine.
There's no combine. It's over.
Dude, you're a professional. It's over.
You're a professional, dude.
No, I could do 225 25 times. Congratulations.
Nobody cares, man.
Cares, bro.
Is that in your CV?
Congratulations. You know? And so you had this blazer, and it was laying on your bed, and I was like, man, that's a nice blazer. Then I go, hey, man, what size blazer is that? This is at the time where I'm rocking. I'm no smaller than a 44, 46 at this point. Probably 46 at this point. I'm a 4 or 44 now. And y'all go, hey, man, what size blazer is that? And you go, 40. And I go, 40. Like 40. You're 40.
And then the next part of the story is the best part.
Yeah, it was a Chris Farley with the fat man in the little coat.
Because you strong armed me. I'm like, hey, man, man, don't put that on.
No, man, let me try.
Seriously, man. like, don't put that on.
Pay good money for this blazer, man. Like, please don't.
Please don't put that on.
No, let me try.
Arms just bulging out of the blazer.
Never forget that. 40.
Yeah. Well, fortunately today, I think that it's good to talk about some other stuff. You made a great point to me.
Yeah. As
we were kind of gearing up, of course, everything that is Joe Biden, Afghanistan still in the news. We still have, I think, a lot of content and a lot of things to say about that in the future, certainly. But you said something that was really, I think, profound and was interesting to me. And that's that, let's talk about some other things this week, because I think it's pretty clear where we stand on those things.
Yes.
I think that
there's no mistaking how we feel about Afghanistan and Joe Biden's decisions at this moment.
Yeah.
And trust me, there's going to be more room for that.
Yeah.
I mean, he will be around for the next, well, we'll see how long he'll be around. We'll see how long he'll be around for. But I want to talk about something different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you want me to kick it off, or?
Well, I mean,
go ahead.
As much as I wish that I could not say anything about Joe Biden on this.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I have a couple brief.
This is why we're here, right there.
I have a couple of brief things.
This is why we're here.
I couldn't walk away completely.
This is why we're here. That's why we're here.
It's like The Godfather, man. Every time I try to walk away,
just what I think about
Uncle Joe
they pull me back.
Pulls me back, man. So 2 really quick things. The first thing is checking his watch repeatedly at Dover Air Force Base.
You're going to do this to me, man?
Right?
You're going to do this to me?
And
okay.
Oh, man. Like,
repeatedly.
Yeah, over and over again. And the people who were there, the accounts of the people, they're like,
give the background. So give the background.
Yes.
Yeah, about Dover.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So Dover Air Force Base is truly a national treasure.
Mm-hmm.
There have been some pictures that have been circulating on social media of what it takes to prepare our fallen service members for burial. It's a special time where you have the caskets with flags draped over them.
Well, they're flown in from...
The families are flown in from all over the country to actually be there to meet their deceased service member at the tarmac. Mm-hmm. Gold Star families, some of the most special people in this country who have truly given an unbelievable sacrifice.
Yep, their last full measure. Yep.
And in the process of bringing these 13 service members back home, it's a ceremony. So Joe Biden is standing by the First Lady, Jill Biden, and he is repeatedly, literally after each casket is brought off of the plane, and I feel bad to even snicker as I say that, because I don't say that because I think there's anything funny about it. It's really unbelievable to me.
It's so unbelievable you have to snicker at it.
It's
so
it's
unbelievable that
you
have to do the Kamala Harris uncomfortable cackle.
Because
you're just like, I
just can't believe this.
I don't even know. Yes.
And as each body is coming off, he has his hand over his heart and he's looking at his watch repeatedly, like he has somewhere better to be.
Yeah.
And it's one of these things where, how much do you just get to the point where it's like, oh my gosh, enough is enough, man.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Like just the idea of showing somebody's respect.
You saw my tweet. You saw my tweet.
Yeah.
You saw my post. Like, I can assure you, sir, that you have enough time for this.
Yes.
Just like everybody else did. By the way, he was the only one.
Yeah.
He was the only one. You could just stand there and not worry about the time right now until these bodies are taken off this airplane and put into these buses to go to their final destination.
Yes. And I don't want to, and once again, don't want to dwell on it.
And by the way, and for those people that don't think that's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
You're wrong. We're right. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
I got that a lot. You're making a big deal out of something that's not. No. Because that's very disrespectful.
This is a respect thing. Yeah. It really is a respect thing.
Yes, it is.
And
so don't dismiss it, because if you dismiss it, it shows your ignorance.
So and also, if you have been the vice president and now the president of the United States, and you've been in the United States Senate for a million years.
A million.
You understand.
Literally.
You understand protocol, procedure, and respect. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things, Wesley, and you know how I am with this stuff. Yeah. There's a lot of things that people do to me that I say, yeah, I was in the military. I take it in a different way. So let me just go ahead and walk away from that. It's not a big deal.
I get it. You weren't in 4th Reg at West Point, and then you have to do a parade. Yeah. You have to do that parade rest until the entire pass review. You didn't experience that.
I get that. You don't
so
get.
Maybe you
so
can't.
let me give you a break because you don't get it. This person ceremonially has experienced the highest levels, being the vice president and president of the United States.
Of decorum.
He knows what it's like to put your hand over your heart. He's had the training of what that means from a respect perspective. And to have been through all that and to handle the situation like that, it's very disappointing. And I'll leave it at that. Yeah. The second thing.
I thought this was an infomercial.
The second thing.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, it really, oh man. The second thing was, I don't know if you've been reading any of the accounts of the Gold Star parent.
I have.
Who he's engaged with.
I have, yeah.
And one of the things that's really been, I think, frustrating about the president's interactions over the past couple of weeks is he ran as a person who had a high level of empathy for others. I've been there. I'm the grandpa. I know what you're going through.
I've lost a son.
I feel your pain.
Who served in the military but lost a son to cancer.
Yeah.
Not in the military.
Like I feel your pain.
Yeah.
That's been the message. And unfortunately, it's unfortunate that he doesn't understand how out of touch that messaging is when you're talking to parents who have lost children in combat that you put in harm's way, and the only thing that you can say to them is, hey, I've lost a son too. And he was having these conversations with these people. One guy told him very directly, like, I actually don't want to talk about your son. I want to talk about my son. And President Biden got upset with this guy over that. And it's that level of empathy, EQ, understanding what people are going through, that I actually think that that's a piece of his portfolio, for lack of a better term, that people were hoping to get. That was in many ways the anti-Trump, right? Like, I want somebody who connects better, who shows me empathy, who can, that was what that was. And I think what we're seeing now, even with the digging in, everything we did was right.
we didn't do anything wrong.
It's showing.
We couldn't have done this better. Like,
and
this
even
was bound to happen this way.
Yeah, and even for the hundreds of people, the hundreds of American citizens who are still there, while every ability for them to get out of Afghanistan by land is being shut down now, and they have no idea what we're going to do from airports, and those people might be left to be slaughtered, right? Like, we don't know. And the lack of empathy and understanding and communication with the American people on behalf of that is really disappointing, considering the highest hopes for somebody like Biden were that even if he is incompetent in some ways and there's no bounds to which he can F things up, even if that's the case.
Who said that, by the way?
At least he's President Obama.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear.
Even
that President Obama said this.
Even if there's that pieces, at least he's not a jerk that doesn't have empathy for other people and doesn't understand what they're feeling and isn't willing to connect with them. Mm-hmm. And so it's almost like in many ways, I feel like those highest hopes are not coming to fruition, and it's disappointing for me.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to say about Joe Biden for the rest of this episode. And I apologize because I probably took too much bandwidth.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. And I'm glad you did.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
You know, the other thing is that we always never run away from speaking up and telling the truth about this. And I will say this. I talked to a supporter today on the phone. He goes, Wesley, how do you feel about this Afghanistan stuff? And again, you know how I feel about it. We have talked about this for the last couple of episodes. And he goes, Wesley, I couldn't even eat food. So I lost my appetite watching that.
Yeah.
Watching us leave people. He goes, Wesley, I'm old enough to remember Saigon, watching a helicopter, watching us just cut and run with no plan, no real course of action, watching us have to send troops back in, send twice as many troops back in than we had in the country for the last 2 years to go exfil it because we made a colossal mistake, leaving all this equipment behind. He said, I couldn't even eat.
And I understand.
And this guy didn't serve in the military, by the way.
Wow. I understand. It's been unsettling I mean, you know how we've had these conversations. Yes. It's been unsettling.
Yes.
For sure.
So I didn't want to say that because we're not the only ones. Yeah. There are people that may disagree. That's fine. But I do think there are strong cases to be made that this situation has become untenable.
Yeah.
And this is not over yet.
It's not.
So that's the reason why I really kind of wanted to touch on it and kind of move on and talk about something else, because we're going to be talking about this again.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate. Yeah, but I pray we don't.
Yeah.
I pray we don't, but I'm a realist at heart.
It's important for us to address it.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
but something that I saw today that really warmed my heart was.
Man, you ain't say that about me.
Nah,
you saw me today, it warmed your heart. Yeah. That big old heart, pumping all that blood, all that vascular body.
I was running all that running and all that blood pumping faster through my veins.
The veins popping out.
I feel it in my plums.
If you don't know what he's talking about, please YouTube Will Ferrell. I'm feeling in my plums. And if you don't think it's funny, we don't share the same type of humor. I'm sorry.
For the market.
Fresh for the market. Feeling in my plums.
It's great. It's just great. Oh man. Oh man. So
where do you go from there, man?
I don't know. I kind of don't want to talk about what I was getting ready to say right now.
You know, something really serious that warm your heart, and it goes to, I can feel it in my plums. Wow, this is certainly a Friday, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Friday before Labor Day at that.
Yeah, seriously.
Friday before Labor Day.
Yeah.
Goodness. So I was going to talk about the Buffalo Soldiers. So the Buffalo Soldiers at West Point. Oh man, that's funny. Whew, that's funny. Yeah, keep all this. This is great. Oh man. So I came across an article today that I thought was really neat.
Yeah.
West Point alma mater. We are very proud of that.
Yes.
I'm very proud of the school. And yet again, we did something that I felt like was really awesome.
Yeah.
And that is, for those who don't know, the Buffalo Soldiers actually, which is an all-black outfit, actually trained white West Point cadets to ride horses. And this is obviously during segregation. Yeah. So obviously there were no black cadets because that wasn't allowed. Yeah. But they had this all-black training unit that would come train the horses, that come train the cadets on how to ride horseback.
And maintain the horses.
Yes, and the stables and everything. And it was amazing. And they all stayed kind of down the hill from where the barracks are today. So there was certainly some distance there. If you go to West Point, it's still there. Yeah. Right. You drive through the front gate, and on the left-hand side, you can still see the fields and the stables where they still have some livestock there. Yeah. And that's where the Buffalo Soldiers both lived and worked and trained West Point cadets at the time. They're all white West Point cadets. Yeah. And you could imagine that horseback riding at that time was a skill that was necessary to be combat ready.
Yes.
That's a combat readiness trait and skill that was necessary. And the Buffalo Soldiers that trained them never really got the credit that they deserved for playing a part in West Point's history.
Yes.
And the progress of West Point.
They didn't have Apache helicopters then.
No, they didn't have Apaches.
No.
They had to ride horseback. They didn't have
horseback.
They didn't have Apaches. No Hellfires.
No.
No rockets.
No tanks.
No 30 Mike. No, bro.
By the way, gosh. Every time, man, Godfather.
What?
Did you see the Taliban riding around Afghanistan in our tanks with flags on them? Okay, back.
We'll get back. Yeah.
Back to
our MRAPs, our Humvees found a Black Hawk over it with a Taliban flag.
Oh.
And they were riding around and getting it too.
Oh, man.
With our stuff.
Like,
that's our stuff.
Whew.
No, that's made in America.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Like, that's our stuff.
Yes.
We'll talk about that later.
Man.
It's rough. This has been a rough week.
Whew.
It's been a rough week. But back to the Buffalo Soldiers.
Yeah.
And so today.
Not the dreadlock rosters.
No, Buffalo Soldiers. Yes.
Yeah, like
no, Buffalo Soldiers, not dreadlock.
Buffalo Soldiers.
And so today there is a statue that's erected right there by the field where the Buffalo Soldiers used to train, work, and live to commemorate their contribution to West Point's history.
It's awesome.
And so what I love about this and what I love about West Point is we have now added the first statue of a black person erected at an academy is now there.
It's awesome.
And a couple of years ago, we added Grant's statue that overlooks the plane.
Yeah.
Awesome. I want to touch on this because we aren't modifying history, we're adding to it.
Yeah.
We're adding to places that maybe weren't appreciated, or people or times or situations that weren't appreciated as much. So we don't have to tear anything down. Let's add to it.
And tell the full story.
Let's tell the full story. Let's build the history up.
Yeah.
And we've said this a few times on the show. I want there to be a Buffalo Soldier statue, and I want there to be Robert E. Lee Barracks. I want there to be both. I want to talk about when that was erected and why it was called Robert E. Lee Barracks, and then I want to talk about the generations that passed when Grant statue goes up. That's great too. The Buffalo Soldier statue goes up. It's all encompassed in one.
Yes.
Some of it's good, some of it's bad.
Yeah.
Some of it is revisionist history, some of it's not. But let's put it all together.
Well, and the thing that the common bind there is that it is history, right?
Yes.
This has been our issue. Go back and watch us talking about critical race theory. It's not viewing everything through the lens of one specific thing.
Yeah.
It's history, right? And yes, this is a story that needs to be told. This is a piece of combat readiness that's so important.
It's been missed.
If you want to research anybody and read about anybody, Henry O. Flipper.
Please
look up Flipper.
Henry O. Flipper.
If you don't do anything based off, look up Henry O. Flipper. Because if you think about graduating from an academy at the time that he did. I mean, the first black graduate from the Naval Academy was alive like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Flipper was at West Point in the 1800s, man.
Yes, it's awesome.
Like, if you want to look up somebody who defines grit and truly the American dream,
yes,
look up Henry O. Flipper. Yeah. And you're right. I mean, this is a part of the story of who we are as Americans. And it's not just the curated story of the good. No, it's the story of who we are holistically.
Yes. Yes.
And some of these things are cautionary tales.
Yeah.
Hell, everything about West Point and the Naval Academy and our engagement with the Civil War, all of it is geared towards the fact that it's a cautionary tale. Guys and girls, we can't fight each other again. This can't happen again. That's the whole point. We can't lose 800,000 people
again.
And when you talk about this, the sacrifices of war, I was thinking about this the other day because my fear about this country sometimes is that we've forgotten what sacrifice looks like. And that's why even seeing these 13 men and women who gave their lives for this country, it's a much more visceral response than we've ever had, which is really good. But at the same time, I think in many ways we're forgetting what it takes to be free. Mm-hmm. This is the issue that we've had oftentimes with leaders in Black America referencing slavery times and Jim Crow.
Yeah.
It's like we've forgotten how far we've actually come.
Sorry, back to Joe Fight. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah,
back to Joe. I'm sorry, Wrendon.
It's like the fart that lingers in the room.
Right, and I feel like Brittany. Like, oops, I did it again. You know, like him calling these new voter laws the new Jim Crow.
Oh my gosh.
I'm looking at this guy like, did you read the laws? You got to be kidding me. Yeah. Like, this is not, stop that. Because during the time of Jim Crow, you had to sit in the back of a bus. Like, you couldn't eat at a counter with white people. Like, there was a colored-only water fountain that was not a very good water fountain. And then there was a whites-only water fountain that was refrigerated, great, delicious, high-quality H2O.
And people like you were voting against busing children so that we could have integrated schools.
We still on him, aren't we?
Like, I mean,
dude, he is.
Once again, like, let's put this in context.
Let's put it in context. So when you say that, you cheapen the struggle of those that actually went through those very dark and difficult times.
You know, I think about it saddens me. One of the things that is like really hurts me in this country is the way that we treated Vietnam vets.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you think about it from a scale standpoint, we can put Iraq and Afghanistan together. We lost less than 4,000 troops in Iraq and Afghanistan together. We lost like 30,000 troops in Vietnam.
Yeah. And don't even get started on World War I and World War II.
Oh, like 300,000?
It's unbelievable, man.
Yeah. And especially if you adjust that to the population.
Oh my gosh.
Of the time.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's crazy. But I
why
really.
It's the greatest generation.
Yeah.
You always bring up the greatest generation has some colossal flaws and made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
But you're talking about why these people, and they got drafted, they got sent into the breach, and they didn't ask any questions. Yeah.
And that's part of the history.
That's part of the history.
And I'll give you an example. You know, we both are fans of 300, Spartan times, things of that sort.
You mean
You probably would have been a strapping guy in the Spider. They'd have rubbed oil on you and had you just killing it. But
I'd be kicking people in the chest. This is Sparta! I just been walking around just kicking people in the chest, man. Just cuz. Like, dude, we get it. This is Sparta. Stop kicking me in the chest.
Yes, got it, man. But, and this is what I don't think that we're...
Do you know I had the whole movie memorized, by the way?
You should. It's a great movie.
Like if you ever watch it with me, I know every line to it. Do you know this?
I didn't know
It's one of my secret talents. Emily had to sit through it one day.
It's probably, she's watching with you once.
It's the last time she watched it.
So, you really, gonna ask you a question. Okay. Do you think that the Spartans were nurturing, sensitive fathers?
Is that toxic masculinity much?
Is that a bad question?
Were they something that rhymes with starts with toxic, ends in I don't know masculinity?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I bring that up to get to every point in history has trade-offs.
Yeah.
Right. The greatest generation had significant faults. Okay.
Yeah.
But
the trade-off was they saved the world.
They saved the world. They literally saved.
We aren't speaking German.
Yeah.
Because of them.
Yeah.
That's the trade-off.
Yeah.
They literally saved the world.
Yes.
Twice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those were some pretty big wars. Twice.
And even when you think about the engagements that we've had and even recognizing, I think it shows a lot that our country, that our alma mater is willing to go back and recognize the truth of narratives too.
Yeah, it's great.
I think that's incredible. There are moments when
let's add names, man. Let's add names. Let's add statues.
Yes.
This is great.
Yes.
Keep the rest. Keep it.
And tell
the full story about why and the time and how people were thinking and how people felt. Yeah. Tell the full. Don't get rid of it and then add and then build on it.
Yeah, and also rather than spending all the time, make sure that you don't spend all the time talking about those things, and make sure that we teach some military history and tactics, like not leaving $80 billion worth of equipment.
In
a country.
Like so, before you pull the military out.
We got to
first.
We got to make sure.
We got to get our people.
We got to make sure we're teaching that too.
And then second,
that's critical.
The second, we got to get. And then third, you leave.
Yeah.
Like you don't do that backwards.
The history is
important.
You
don't leave and then send more soldiers in, and then leave people and equipment.
No. Like the history is important, but the tactics are important
more
too.
Important,
right?
Yeah.
I mean but all this to say, I mean, these are responsibilities of. The foremost institution in the world.
Yes.
These are challenges that will continue to come up because you know what? As much as you and I both love West Point's not perfect either.
No, it's not. It didn't. Look. It didn't produce perfect people. West Point as an institution is not perfect. No. That's okay. Yeah. That's okay. But I like what you said too. What you said before too. Nothing's perfect.
No,
it's the best you got.
Yeah.
We can sit here and talk about how not perfect things are. I'm not. It's the best you got.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's roll with the best we got.
Yeah.
And then
I can give you a very good example of that from my golf league that I'm in on Wednesday nights. We're in the playoffs now.
Playoffs?
Playoffs? I made the playoffs, which is not saying a lot because most people make the playoffs. They just want me to continue to pay in so other people and not me is going to get paid out at the end, right? So
they need people to make the pot bigger.
Yeah. So I made the playoffs, and we were playing on Wednesday 2 days ago, and my ball flight, I hit a draw. So I hit a ball that travels right to left. Okay, I was playing with a guy who's a very good golfer, and he was asking me, he said, so like, have you thought about like fading it a little bit or hitting it? I was like, wait a minute.
Like carving your shot?
Here's what you got to understand. I play with what I have. I hit a draw, so I'm not figuring out how to hit a different shot. I'm figuring out how to try to make that draw go where I want it to be.
Like, stop this.
Right? We have the institutions we have.
Yes.
We have the country we have.
And by the way, it's a damn good draw.
And it's a good one, right? Yeah. You can do great. You can do great with a nice draw. There's some pros that play with great draws.
Yeah.
Right? But rather than talk about how can we get the fade and the other shot shape and no. Let's work with what we have.
This is good, man.
Let's work with what we have.
This is good.
And we need to do a better job of that as a country for sure. And part of working with what we have is accepting where we've been.
So speaking of golf, you know who does this really well? Bryson DeChambeau.
Yeah.
He knows what he does well. He's a Neanderthalic about it.
Yeah.
But he does it well.
Yeah.
He holds on to it. Short game, This is a little sus.
Yeah.
But he knows I bash ball.
Yeah.
Ball go far. Gives me more shots.
And if he wins, I will win doing it the way that maximizes my strengths.
And he wins, Wrendon.
Yes.
He don't get cute about this.
No.
Have you seen him practice?
It's ridiculous.
See his house?
It's all off balance.
This is what I do.
I hit ball go far.
I love it.
But yeah, I mean, like, there's part of what we're doing here is, maximizing our strengths and minimizing our weaknesses.
Yes.
Isn't that by definition what improvement is?
And you win. Don't forget that.
And how is it that we can use our strengths to further minimize our weaknesses? Yeah. If you hit ball far on green, you just have to putt, no chip.
You see what you did? Okay. Oh. Hit ball far.
Okay. Okay. Like,
okay.
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 It's like watching Happy Gilmore for the first time when he just he had a hole in one. He said, "Oh, I should just hit it in the hole every time." Carl Weathers' character was like, "Yeah,
you can do that." No chip.
Yeah,
hit ball green, no chip. Yeah.
It sounds like a good idea. And I mean, isn't that the way? Even as we think about all these things in our country that truly are our strengths. Like, one of the most American strengths is the ability to come together, our esprit de corps. Mm-hmm. Like, when it really hits the fan, the ability for us to really stand up.
We'll talk more about that here on 9/11. That's going to happen.
Yeah, like that is one of the
20th anniversary of 9/11. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Because that's something that I really want to hit on with that episode. And that's just like the amazing, the American spirit. That, by the way, the spirit fire is still there.
Yes, it is.
Unfortunately, I pray to God that it doesn't get tested in the way it did 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But I feel sorry for the person that wants to test it. Test us if you want to. Awaken the sleeping giant if you want to. Yeah, sure, we're arguing about mean tweets and all this kind of stuff and January 6th and all that, going back and forth about how terrible we are and the left and the right. We're gnawing at it because right now we don't have a common enemy and we think it's each other. But you rattle that cage and see what happens.
Wesley, what's my favorite rap verse, man? I ain't a killer, but don't push me.
We're talking about a lot of things in this country, but I tell you what, that American esprit de corps is always there.
It's special.
And people don't, and like I said, I say this, people are like, no, it's not, Wesley. This is the worst I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about.
No, we fought a civil war.
Okay, yeah, we fought a civil war.
Like 800,000 people died fighting each other in this country.
We've talked about Vietnam, and now you just brought up Vietnam, and we had American soldiers that were giving their all, and they would walk through the airport and get spat on.
It's ridiculous.
Like we've been in really bad situations.
And don't even talk about race relations.
I don't even want to. Right?
I mean, and once again, that's why I think
I don't even want to talk about, like, there was a time in this country where, like, black men could just be hanged.
Yeah. Summarily, for no reason. Yeah.
So anybody says that this is the worst of it, let me stop.
There was a time where that wasn't so strange, and our parents were living.
I know. Yikes.
One generation removed.
Yikes.
So once again, when people in a very irresponsible way say this is like, stop it.
Stop.
We're in a different place. This is something new.
Stop it.
This is something new. It's not like that. We're in a far better place.
We are in a far better place. Let you take us out.
Absolutely. So I'm great conversation. It was nice to not have to talk about something so mum all the time. Hope everybody has a happy and safe Labor Day weekend. And remember, smiles are contagious, so make someone's day.
God bless you.